prior to the 1985, the church was planning a temple dedication in both Tokyo and Seattle. Anyway, as they were approaching the Tokyo temple, the brethren decided that the original Hosanna anthem that was written by Evan Stevens for the Salt Lake temple was difficult to sing and to play, and they felt as they had a bunch of temples planned for remote areas in the church, and so they felt that there definitely needed to be a simplified version of that. Evan Stevens' music was very difficult and unnecessarily too. Anyway, so since I was on the General Music Committee, I was given the assignment to write this simplified version, or simpler version. It's still not too simple, but the challenge was not to lose the excitement of the original. And so anyway, I got the call on a Friday, and I said I could do it over the weekend, and those are in the days before internet and computers and things. So I said, well, I'll get it to you on Monday, one way or another. So I proceeded all of Friday, Saturday, so Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday to get that piece written. And I never play anything until I'm done with it, because I have perfect pitch. And so I finished the thing up, and then I asked my wife to come and we'll play and sing. And she's a woman of few words, and that when it was finished, she said, that is very good. And I thought of someone, Shelby Ricks, who had diabetes and was going to Salt Lake once a week for dialysis. There was no treatment available for that around. So I didn't know what day that he went, but I just know he went. So by the time this was finished on a Sunday evening, I called Shelby. He says, yeah, we're going tomorrow. And I said, would you mind drop this original manuscript off to the church office building? He said, no, I don't drive, but my wife will. He was not well. So anyway, then the next day, the Tabernacle Choir staff and organist and whatever, and Elder Hugh Pinnock, who was our advisor, said at that time when they gathered around the piano with this, this was his comment, that definitely, he said, when the Lord comes again, a choir of saints will sing the Hosanna anthem personally to him in the temple. And it moved him and the others too. And anyway, so it was published in the choir book. And I have heard since this was 1985, it's been some at every temple dedication and rededication since. And I had never been to a temple dedication where this was sung, and until the Rexburg Temple, which was 2009, I believe it was. But I've heard accounts of general authorities saying in the temple dedication is that when the Spirit of God is sung by the choir, the congregation, while the choir continues to sing the rest of the text and music of Evan Stevens, that they heard voices that weren't in the room, angelic voices. And I have not had that experience, but I was given the privilege of playing for the one session. There were 4, and this was my first time accompanying a choir, and it was our temple here. And it was a very special experience because my son Andrew was the project engineer for this temple, worked for Jacobson Construction. But I had told the choir ahead of time this story, and I said, I think something miraculous will take place when the choir enters over in the middle of the piece. And anyway, that did happen. And one or two of the singers who had tears in their eyes came over and put their hand on my shoulder and patted it, because that wonderful miracle takes place in the Hosanna Anthem. So that's the story of the Hosanna Anthem. And this is available in the choir book, and it's now been published separately in a number of languages wherever there have been temple dedications. It seemed to me Tahiti has a different notation with a bunch of numbers and things. And I have a copy of that, but I have no idea how they read it. But it's been sung around the world many times. And anyway, so that's the story of my involvement with the Hosanna Anthem. You've asked me to talk about maybe the power of music in my life, and maybe relate an incident or two where something powerful has happened. I was just a very, very small child. I don't know that I could have been more than a couple of years old, but my mother took me to church one day, and I heard this funny old pump organ in the congregation in the Logan 6th Ward singing a hymn. And this happens to be the very first memory of my entire childhood, and I don't remember the exact age, but anyway, when I heard the organ and then the choir come in, I was moved by it, and I didn't know how to express myself that time because I couldn't speak. And so I just started to cry. And to this day, very powerful music. By powerful, I don't mean just loud. A lot of people equate loudness with power, and that's totally wrong. Some of the most moving pieces of music are not loud. But so she was a little upset with me, and so she took me out because she thought I was a naughty child. But it did affect me that way, and throughout my life there have been similar experiences. I remember in college attending a performance of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony with the Utah Symphony Orchestra, and I had signed up for choir. That quarter didn't have the semester system then, and because I wanted the experience of singing the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, which is the famous Ode to Joy Symphony. There was a fellow in the dorm where I lived whose name was Biff McLaughlin. I remember his name, and I can see him, but I haven't heard from him for 50 years. I don't know whatever became of him. But he claimed he was an agnostic or an atheist or something. And anyway, so I convinced him not to go with me to the performance, which he did. And after the performance, it was thrilling, by the way, not only to a member of the choir, but to people who heard it. And always it is thrilling. But Biff said after the performance, he said, "That is an inspired work." And I said, "Biff, that's true, but who inspired it?" But it affected him. And great music always does, and even sometimes music that's written for children. I've written a number of pieces for children. In fact, I have about 15 songs in the children's songbook. I don't have a specific story on any one of them, but anyway, even a beautiful children's song will affect me sometimes as much as a great choral orchestral masterpiece. I am so grateful that I have a background in music and have studied it. I remember from my doctoral exams, I knew that they are fond of taking little phrases from great symphonies and other famous masterworks and having them on the doctoral exam and then having the testee identify them. So I was going through the Beethoven symphonies one day in my apartment, and I was so enraptured by the great music of Beethoven. When the record was over, those were 78s, which young people today have never seen one, don't even know what they are. But anyway, all of a sudden, when the record was over and I stopped the music, I said to myself, I don't even care if I pass the exam and get my doctorate, because I'd had such an exhilarating experience just listening to the music of Beethoven. I feel great pity for the person who hasn't surrounded himself with good music and allowed that aspect of the Spirit of the Holy Ghost enter into their hearts. I think people who go through life without music at all is like watching a black and white movie instead of color. Yeah, the people are there, the lines are spoken, but the music adds color. That's all that comes to my mind right now.